The World Cup is fast approaching and Thomas Tuchel has the difficult job of picking 26 players to take to the World Cup with him. I've made the job a little bit easier for him. I've thought of every single scenario, every situation, and I've picked the correct, unbiased, well-balanced 26-man squad. So let's get into it. Okay, we are of course starting with goalkeepers, and in a 26-man squad, you're going to take 3 goalkeepers, and we're starting off with probably the most obvious pick in this whole squad. Jordan Pickford is obviously going on the plane to the World Cup. He is England's number 1. He is still England's best goalkeeper. He is performing for Everton. He is performing for England. He's doing everything we'd want him to do. He will definitely be on the plane and definitely will be the starting goalkeeper for England this summer. Now, the next 2 spots could be filled by 4 players, in my opinion. Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale, Dean Henderson, James Trafford. Now, for me, I think that Dean Henderson is England's second best goalkeeper. If anything were to happen to Jordan Pickford in that England team at the World Cup, then I think Dean Henderson is the perfect replacement. If Pickford were to get suspended or if Pickford were to get injured, then I think that Dean Henderson will be the one that will be used as a second goalkeeper. I don't think Nick Pope is good enough. I think he's shown over the last couple of years that he's not actually a very good goalkeeper. I think Newcastle fans will agree with me. So I don't think that he will go to the World Cup. I also don't think Aaron Ramsdale will. I don't think that he has played enough minutes. Mikel Arteta was quite happy for him to leave this Arsenal team, and they've kicked on since. So I think that kind of shows quite a lot. But also, he can't get the number 1 shirt at any club right now. He's got so many mistakes in him. I don't think he goes to the World Cup, which means that I think James Trafford does go to the World Cup. Now, obviously, he hasn't played many minutes this season. However, that's not through any fault of his own. Obviously, he signed for Man City early on in the summer. They then went on to sign Donnarumma. When James Trafford signed, he thought he was going to be the number 1 for the season at Manchester City. So he's been a bit unfortunate in that sense. However, I do think that it's worth taking him. And now I don't necessarily think he is England's 3rd best goalkeeper right now, but I still think you take him because when we're done with this Pickford period, when Pickford is gone, I think James Trafford will be England's next goalkeeper, in which case it is definitely worth giving him some dressing room experience, some big tournament experience, so that when he does step into that number 1 role, he's got some experience behind him at a tournament. So I would be taking Pickford, Henderson and Trafford as the goalkeepers. Right, moving on to the outfield players now. And what I'm going to do here is pick 2 players for every position to begin with, and then we'll fill the rest of the positions, the rest of the squad. So, at right back, I think it's safe to say that if Reece James is fit, he will be going to the World Cup. He is one of the best right backs in the world when he is fit. Defensively, he's very solid. On the ball, we know how good he is. We know how good he is going forward. His crosses, the way he can actually dictate games and even step into midfield if need be. For me, he is one of the first names in the England squad if he's fit. And we've got to assume right now that he is, because currently he is fit right now. Now, the next right back, obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold is a difficult one at the moment. He's been injured for quite a while at Real Madrid. He is now fit though, and he is now playing football again. We know how good he can be. He's shown it for Liverpool over the last however many years. So I think if he's fit, you do have to take him. I'm going to put him in here because I think, like I say, if he's fit, it just seems wrong to leave him at home, given how creative he can be. If we're 1-1 in a game or 1-0 down in a game and we need some creativity from somewhere, you know that he can bring that. So I think that these 2 will be the 2 first choice right backs. This is assuming that Trent Alexander-Arnold can get back to some sort of form for the rest of the season. Now, on the other side, at the beginning of the season, we maybe thought that Miles Lewis-Skelly was going to be the one that would be first choice at left back for England in this World Cup, because he was fantastic last season. He played a lot of minutes because Calafiori was out. But this season, he's barely been able to get minutes. When he has got minutes, he's been pretty awful as well. So he really hasn't kicked on since last year. Another name that could also be at left back is Luke Shaw. We know he's trusted. We know he's tried in these situations. He's played in the last few tournaments. And he actually has had a pretty good season for Man United. Mostly at centre-back, or left centre-back in a back 3, but more recently under Carrick he has played left-back. We know that he does have a mistake in him, That is the only thing. Going forward, he's pretty good, and defensively, he's pretty good. So he's quite well-rounded in that sense. But he is getting on a bit now, and I do think there are better options for this World Cup. So for now, we're going to leave both of those guys. I think the player that has been the best English left-back this season is Lewis Hall. So I'm putting him in the squad. If he can stay fit, because he had an injury earlier in the season, which could have kind of curtailed all this for him. But he's come back, and he has been sensational defensively and offensively. He is very, very good. And the next left back we're going to take is Nico O'Reilly. Again, he has been sensational for Man City this season. It's not even his preferred position, but it's where he's played most this season. He has now played in centre midfield in most recent games, along with Rodri, which is also quite a useful thing to have. Versatile players in World Cup squads are really useful. To know that he can also fill in at centre mid if need be is going to be very useful for us. So I think we take Hall. I think we take O'Reilly. That means Shaw misses out, and that does also mean that Lewis Skelly misses out. On to centre-backs now, and we'll put the two obvious ones in. Mark Guéhi is definitely going to the World Cup, and so is Konsa. Mark Guéhi has had an unbelievable season. Starting with Crystal Palace, he was absolutely brilliant for them. After the move to Liverpool didn't happen in the summer, he's been fantastic for the first half of the season. Then he moved to Man City, and he's arguably been better for them. He's been an absolute rock at the back, especially when the likes of Gvardiol and Diaz were both out. He will definitely be starting for England. He's one of the best centre-backs in the league, if not the world right now. And then Ezri Konsa, I'll admit, I'm not Ezri Konsa's biggest fan. I do think that he has quite a big, and quite often, he's got mistakes in him, I'd say. But on the ball, he's very good. He is a very good ball-playing centre-back. And I think it kind of is a weak spot at the moment, this centre-back spot in the England team. If there were a load of other options, good options to pick from, then maybe he wouldn't make it. Maybe he wouldn't be starting. But we've seen that this centre-back partnership, Tuchel quite likes it, and it has worked quite well together. So these two will definitely be on the plane. And then the next two players, this is where it gets a little bit difficult because there have been some good options. Dan Burn has been in recent squads. I'm not too sure about that personally. Trevor Chalobah as well has been playing quite well for Chelsea, but I've gone with two different players. So I've gone with John Stones here. Now, obviously, not really been fit this season and he hasn't played many minutes at all. So this does assume that he actually plays some minutes now that he is fit, I believe. This assumes that he does get some minutes for Man City. Because when he is fit, when he is available, he is one of the best centre-backs. On the ball, he's probably the best in the world in that sense. So if he is fit, I definitely think we take him. He's been at tournaments before. We can depend on him. Another player in a similar ilk to that is Harry Maguire. He's now back in favour under Michael Carrick, and he is performing very well again. I really like Maguire when he's fit. I think he is such an underrated defender. Going forward as well, he is such a presence in the box from set pieces, and that is so important in tournaments. He's shown that before himself. So these are the four that I'd go with in terms of centre-backs. For now, we'll move on to midfielders. So we know Tuchel has liked to play a 4-2-3-1 for England, so we'll do the two at the base of the midfield first, and there are some obvious names. Declan Rice is one of those obvious names. He will definitely be going to the World Cup. He will definitely be starting pretty much every single game that he is available. He's one of the best eights in the world. He's such a complete, such a rounded midfielder that he has to go and he has to play a lot of minutes. Now, the next two, this is where if you're talking about a starting lineup, you're not really sure who you're going to put here. A lot of people are saying that Anderson will play next to him, and I do get that. I do think that Anderson does complement Rice quite well. One thing that Rice doesn't typically do for this Arsenal team is pick up the ball from the centre-backs and progress it forward. That's one thing that Elliot Anderson is really, really good at. So he will almost definitely be there, I'd say. And then the next player that, again, will probably almost definitely be on the plane, I'd say, is Adam Wharton. Another player who passing-wise, passing forward, progressing the ball forward with passes is one of the best in the country right now. He is so good at that. That is such his game at Crystal Palace. He can pick up the ball off the centre-backs or off of anyone really and progress forward. So he, for me, definitely goes. Now this last spot is a pretty tricky one. There are a few options here. You've got Jordan Henderson if you want kind of an older head, if you want some experience in there. Could be more of a changing room play rather than an actual on-field play. To be honest, I don't necessarily think that whichever midfielder we pick here is going to play too many minutes. So maybe Henderson is the answer as kind of almost another captain role as such, an off-field role. There's obviously players like Loftus-Cheek maybe, or Alex Scott's been really good for Bournemouth this season. However, I've gone with Curtis Jones. He's got a different graphic here, not sure why. But Curtis Jones is a massively underrated, underappreciated footballer. I don't get why he isn't playing more minutes for Liverpool. I don't get why there's not more noise about the fact that he isn't playing minutes for Liverpool as well. It's not like they've been unbelievable this season. They've called out for someone to take charge of a game. And I'm not saying that he can literally do that in every single game. But every time he plays, he performs exceptionally well. He shields the ball, he holds the ball really well. He can win the ball as well. He can kind of do it all. I'm not saying he is absolutely unbelievable at every aspect of a midfielder's game, but he is very good at progressing the ball when passing, also through dribbling. I'm just not sure that there's been enough spoke about the fact that he isn't getting minutes, and he absolutely should be getting more minutes for Liverpool right now. If you're losing a game or you're drawing a game and you need a goal, you're not going to bring on a Henderson. You're not going to bring on an Alex Scott. And that is what this position should be about, really. Someone that's going to actually be a difference maker, a game changer. So I think that Curtis Jones is the option here. Now, number 10 is where it is probably most difficult. One player that is definitely going to be going, let's be honest, is Jude Bellingham. We know that he definitely will be going to the World Cup. Whether he actually is starting or not in this England team, that's yet to be seen. But we can be pretty sure that he's going to be on the plane. He hasn't been playing his best football for Real Madrid this season. Last season we saw he was quite a goal-scoring midfielder. He was used sometimes as a false nine as well in that Real Madrid team. This season, that hasn't really been how it is. Maybe that's because Mbappe's there now. But what's happened is that he's been more of a ball winner almost for Real Madrid this season. Regardless, he's still one of the best players. He is such a big moment player, a big tournament player, and that is why he will definitely be on the plane. And another player that will definitely be on the plane and should be as well is Morgan Rogers. Now, we know how much Tuchel loves Rogers. It's been in Bellingham's absence that he's been playing Rogers, of course, but I just can't see a world where Tuchel doesn't take Rogers. Obviously, he can play on the left as well. For Aston Villa, he does drift out there quite a lot, sometimes even starts out there. But I think for the purposes of this, we'll keep him in this position, and then we'll move on to the forward players now. Okay, I've made myself a little bit smaller so I can fit more players on the screen. We're talking right wingers now, and we know that Bukayo Saka will definitely be going. He will definitely be on the plane, so we don't really need to talk too much about that. He hasn't had the best season numbers-wise for Arsenal. He's also played in the number 10 recently. Can't see that happening for England, to be honest. But the next right winger that I'm going to say should be on the plane is Madueke. Now, I told you this would be unbiased. I'm a West Ham fan. So if this was a biased thing, I'd be putting Jarrod Bowen there. But this is how you know it's not. Jarrod Bowen is an unbelievable footballer, don't get me wrong. And there is a chance he does go, of course. But I think Madueke offers something much more exciting. What we're seeing from the likes of Saka, the likes of Palmer, the likes of Foden, is that in the Premier League, they haven't been that exciting. Palmer a little bit less so. But Madueke will always try to make something happen. So I think he is absolutely indispensable in this team. Another player, and we're talking left wingers now, who has that about him as well, is Marcus Rashford. We saw it all those years ago in the Euros where he'd come on and just take on a man. He looks like he's kind of got that back a little bit now. He's missing a lot of chances this season for Barcelona, don't get me wrong. And he isn't necessarily playing all of the minutes you'd like him to, but he's playing enough and he's playing really, really well. So I think he definitely has to go to this World Cup. And then the next left winger we're going to put here is Anthony Gordon. Now, he's someone that hasn't had a good season at all this year. At times, he's actually been awful on the football pitch. If you're a Newcastle fan or if you've been watching Newcastle this season, you'll know what I mean. At points, he has been really, really bad. But I think that left wing is a bit of another weak spot in the England squad. Other than Rashford, other than Gordon, there isn't a load of English left wingers putting their hand up to say, pick me for this squad. So I do think that we're going with Gordon, we're going with Rashford. In the most recent squad, Tuchel did actually use Jarrod Bowen on the left wing. And if I was biased, I would say, put Jared Bowen in, have him on there, because I'm a West Ham fan, of course, but I really don't think that makes too much sense. Don't get me wrong, Jared Bowen would be really good there. He's really good anywhere. He will apply himself wherever and be good. But I think an out-of-position Bowen isn't going to be as good as Gordon. So I think we go Gordon, I think we go Rashford. Up front, we're obviously putting Harry Kane in here. We don't need to talk about that too much. England's captain, England's best goal scorer, of course. The second player is where it gets interesting here, though. And admittedly, we may take 3 strikers. For the purposes of this, I'm going to say 2 strikers. Now, the reason that I'm going to say that is because Rashford and Gordon can both play through the middle, meaning I don't think we need to take 3 strikers. I also think what that means is that we need someone who's got a different profile to someone like Rashford and someone like Gordon. Now, the obvious answer here is to put Ollie Watkins in. I don't think we should take Ollie Watkins to the World Cup. The reason being is this whole profile thing. If you are 1-0 down or 1-1 in a game, I've mentioned this situation a lot, but this is where you need your subs, right? If you're in a game situation and you need a goal in the last half an hour or so, admittedly, Watkins has actually given us that before. But for me, you need someone who is of a slightly different profile. In that situation, what you're going to be doing is getting the ball wide and putting crosses in. In the Premier League, who have we seen who has been getting on the end of crosses very well this season? Now, the player that we have seen is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I believe that he should be the one that goes to the World Cup. I believe that he would be a better sub. We know that Kane is going to start up front every single game, let's be honest. And this plan doesn't really work if Kane gets injured, admittedly, because if Kane can't start every single game, then Watkins is a better option. I will say that. But the situations where we need someone off the bench to get a goal, in the situations where we're going to be spamming crosses, I believe that Calvert-Lewin is the better option for that. And I think that Rashford and Gordon can play up front when needed as well. So for me, I've gone Kane, I've gone Calvert-Lewin. Okay, so that is 23 of the 26-man squad already picked. Now we've got some extra players that we can fill in here. 2 of those players will almost definitely be attackers or attacking midfielders at least. And the one player that will definitely be going, I think we can assume, is Cole Palmer. We'll put Cole Palmer in here. He can obviously play on the right, which is actually going to be really useful because Saka and Madueke aren't exactly playing their best football right now. So Palmer will definitely be in this team. I'd be very surprised if he isn't. I do think we probably need one more defensive option as well. That could either be a centre-back, the likes of Kwanzaa, Byrne, Chalobah maybe. Probably Chalobah's most likely. And if we were going to put a 5th centre-back in here, I do think it would be Chalobah. However, the 4 fullbacks that we've picked here are all quite attacking. I think we maybe need one defensive or slightly more defensive option as a fullback. Now, the 2 options for this, I think, are Tino Livramento or Jed Spence. I honestly can't really split them. I don't really think it matters which one it is. They're both pretty good defensively. I'm going to put Jed Spence in here just because I don't mind which one goes. I really like Jed Spence. Again, I told you, unbiased. I really like a Spurs player. But yeah, Jed Spence, very, very good defender. I'm going to say we need a more defensive fullback over another centre-back, I think. That leaves just one player, and the biggest players that are currently missing out here, Jared Bowen, Ollie Watkins, maybe these 2 aren't that big, but we can only take one of Eze or Foden. You'll notice Foden isn't here. Now, this is going to be an unpopular one. I'm ready for this to be an unpopular one. But for me, Foden just hasn't done enough this season. At the beginning of the season, don't get me wrong, he was performing pretty well. There was a period where he was actually scoring or assisting in most games. And obviously, Eze hasn't really done enough either this season. I'm not saying that he's been good, because for Arsenal, he absolutely hasn't. But the reasoning for me for taking Eze over Foden is that I believe Foden and Palmer have too many of the same attributes that I don't think you need both of them in the squad. And secondly, Foden has had numerous chances in an England shirt to perform, and he just hasn't done it. He's never done it for England, but mainly because Foden and Palmer are too similar. Where you want both of these players is in and around the box with the ball at their feet, where they need to use their close control, get a shot off in a tight space. I think they can both offer that. I don't think you need both of these guys. If you need a player to put on when you want a goal. We've seen Palmer do that, of course, in the last tournament. We've not really seen Foden do that. But I don't think you need both of them. Eze offers something a little bit different. Eze is able to pick up the ball a little bit deeper and drive forward with it. I don't think that either Foden or Palmer are particularly strong in that area. That's where Eze does definitely excel, where he can pick up the ball a little bit deeper. He can even push wider, and obviously both of these players can do that. But he can go a bit wider and pick up the ball there, drive with it. If you're going to take either Eze or Foden, I think you take the one that is a bit more different to another player we've got in the squad. I don't think it makes any sense to just take your 26 best players. You need players for different situations, different scenarios. So I'm going Eze here instead of Foden. So that is my 26-man squad. Completely unbiased, as I said. Let me know in the comments what you think of it, what you'd change, whether you would take Foden. But that is all for this one. Make sure you are hitting like, make sure you're subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.